Welcome everyone to another video from your boy Broly Legs. It's been a while. I haven't been making this as consistent as I want. I'm very excited for the new balance update, which we'll get into once it comes out. Make a bunch of videos for that. New moves, the last definitive balance patch for Street Fighter V. So I'm really excited for it. Hopefully, it puts some energy. We got one more year of Street Fighter V before Street Fighter 6 comes out. Going to be going to tournaments. Going to go to Evo, Texas Showdown. We'll see if there's any others that come out. I was thinking about going to Calm Breaker. We'll see. But I definitely have a lot left in this game, and I really want to explore it as much as possible. I'm excited for chun changes if there is any. We haven't really gotten any last time. I know Copium, but we'll see how it goes. I'm really excited, and even if we don't Street Fighter 6, I'm really excited for it. Hopefully, you guys will stay with me for that ride. But today we're going to be talking about Control. The title of this video is going to be Control in fighting games, specifically in Street Fighter V. But I want you guys to understand, and this is going to be a long video, I want you guys to understand that when I'm talking about Control in fighting games, I mean in any fighting game. I don't just mean Street Fighter V. This is not exclusive to Street Fighter V. What I'm going to be talking about is Street Fighter V and its mechanics and the options that are coming up, depending on the character you play. Today's going to be Chun-Li, of course. But I want you to understand that when I talk about Control, it can be applied in any fighting game you play. King of Fighters, Guilty Gear, Marvel, Mortal Kombat, Dragon Ball. We have so many fighting games out, and I believe this video is going to be very useful for those that are looking to understand what it means, what kind of goes in the mind of a competitive player such as myself, and how we explain what control means or what it implies when we're talking about control. I'm hoping that this video lasts because we are in a tornado watch, but let's go ahead and begin on this video. Now, just throwing it out there before we really dive into this. This was just a random online match. This is not in any way to throw shade or to disparage the player, because a really good player, awesome. I believe they use Falk generally, or Manat. Guile was just something new. So this is not, exposing the example on a certain player. This is just something that I can apply what I want to talk about today the best way I can. So again, the match was great, and we're just using this as an example. That's all. So let's go ahead and delve into this. Now, when we talk about control, we exercise this term in all facets of this game, in all facets of this play. And I'm going to be pausing a lot, I'm going to be replaying a lot, I'm going to be using these replay functions a lot so that you guys are able to. This is going to be a big educational video. I want you guys to understand this is for education purposes. You guys have questions, please use the comments below. Message me. Training, if you want to train with me, medify.gg/@brolyleg. That'll be in the description. All that. But today's all about understanding control. Now before we start the video properly, let's talk about control. What do I mean by control? What I mean is, when do you press a button? When do you do an action? How confident you are that the action you apply will not be interrupted, will not be impeded upon. There is almost no chance. There's never going to be a zero chance. Because people can do crazy things in this game, in any fighting game. But what we are looking at is how confident you should be when you press a button. And it starts from frame 1. Right when the announcer says, fight. Right when the first action that can be used, control is already being fought for. And the control is first based off of spacing. Now you may say, well, you're both going to be hitting the air. There's nothing really to be fighting for. You're barely, feeling each other out. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Control is fought for first off by spacing or range. And if you look at these characters right off the bat, you ask yourself, what are the tools these characters have, and who establishes control first? Fortunately for me, as I see Guile on the other side, and I see that my opponent picks Guile, I already know that I have the strength and control from the beginning. I have control. I'm in control because of the range of my character. And as we see, and I'm just going to be, moving it forward. I'm just going to be moving this forward little by little. So, this action that they choose is standing jab. Why is that? From my point of view, this is an action to cover dash if I choose to dash, and have the ability to recover just in time if I do decide to jump. The first thing we all are scared of is, what if they jump right from the go, right? What if I throw fireball and they jump? That's always the scariest thing as a charge character, as one of my tools is a fireball, because fireball gives me control right off the bat. So this jab, don't know if this was a misinput or if they decided to say, I want to interrupt your dash. This is them trying to counteract my first attempt at control. The problem with this right here is, if I chose, which I didn't, if I chose to go for stand heavy kick, my range, my normals, my ability to control the matchup would have been successful, because my heavy kick would have hit this stand jab. So, as you can understand, none of this is like determined. None of this is perfect, right? It doesn't just mean Chun wins no matter what first attack, no matter what, because you have to think about all the options a character can do, and what is the probability of said option. What's the probability of them jumping on the first frame? Right? Probably low-ish, right? It's not too low, but I think it's low. Depending on what I feel like they might do. I feel early on, crouching jab is an early indication, something that's a high probability. I would have liked to see Guile done crouching jab because it beats out stand heavy punch, or heavy kick, and it's pretty much a safer button. I probably could have still hit with fierce punch, but again, we're going with probability. We're trying to understand and establish control. So if we continue on here, I go for slide. No one's really pressing any buttons. I'm trying to counter fireball. Fireball's a good controlling factor because it's a projectile that I recover fast enough. I use my ability to move forward. Crouching middle punch, nothing there. They could have whiff punished me. There was no whiff punish. So early on, there's no real winners or losers in this control. We're still fighting for it. We're still vying for control. Now, once I do crouching middle punch, I want you all to understand this frame right here. when you initiate a button, when you go for an action, you have lost all control for that moment. When I did crouching middle punch, there is a chance that I'm going to counter hit their fireball, but I don't know. This is more of a guess. This is more of a, I'm hoping. This is just a hopeful observation, a hopeful action. The problem is it whiffs, and I'm pretty much laid out to dry for a couple frames. Negative 18 frames. Let's actually count this the correct way, right? Let's actually see from the start of this. So, minus 35, right? Now again, a lot of this, minus 35 is big number, but you have to understand, you have to take into consideration reaction, when you're ready, how fast a person can press the button, all that kind of stuff. The issue is I'm laid out here and I still got 20 frames. And all this time right here, I'm slowing it down, but we're gonna go all the way to -1. All that time right there, I am able to get hit. I am in the range of being whiff punished. I have lost control because I took a stab at the neutral, because I took a stab at countering, right? This is actually a big mistake. I shouldn't crouch a middle punch unless I react to the fireball. But I didn't react to the fireball. I assumed there was a fireball. I assumed that was the action that the Guile player would do. And it was the wrong assumption, and I should have been punished for this. And this is something that's very key in an opponent, in an actual match. These are where you can, in your mind, say, this is where I could have done better. This is something that I missed. This is a missed opportunity. This whiff punish, as minuscule it might have been, even if it was just a sweep, even if it was just crouching middle kick, it's damage that you missed. The missed opportunity. When someone loses control, because when I perform an action, there is nothing left. I can't block in this situation. From that 35 frame to this -1 frame, I cannot block. For those 35 frames, I cannot block. Or 34, right? I cannot block. I am in animation. Control is gone, and the opponent has to seize it. They hit me, they gain control, but they didn't. So, with punishing, as long as there's range that can happen, there's always an opportunity to hit. We are not perfect, we're not robots, so opportunities are going to come and go. It's going to happen, but you have to be ready for these opportunities. Crouching middle punch is one of those where if you know the matchup, if you study the matchup, you'll be ready for this. So, I'm going to try not to break this down all the way, but we're going to try to break down as much as it, just so, I won't go for repeats, but I'm going to go for things that I noticed that's, helpful. So, the obvious one, and I know control is a very broad topic, and I'm trying to break it down as specific as possible. This right here is an observation of +5, -5. Plus on block, minus on block. They have control. I don't have control. I'm behind. So, for those 5 frames, she's a little bit more than that, but for those 5 frames, actually it's 5 frames. Actually longer, because now he has control. This 5 frames, now the control starts here, because I have to wait until another action is performed. Now, they're in control. They get to go for something. Regardless of this negative. This is negative because I could have hit between this motion. But obviously, again, because we're kind of making things general. I blocked the fireball. They're plus. I kind of wait for them. I don't assume I'm gonna press a button. I don't want to assume to press a button because if you play by the numbers, the probability of getting hit is pretty high if you're pressing on their positive frame. So they have control. Now control's back to me because I know this is negative. So I strike. But my strike didn't even reach. So let's go over all this again. Positive, negative, whiff. Now this should have hit, or in my mind this should have hit, right? This didn't. This is very hard. This is, again, another thing that we're not robots. We're not perfect. If they knew this was going to whiff, this is another missed opportunity to hit me. This is me misjudging my range. So I'm whiffing. But I did the right calculation. Maybe I should have done heavy punch instead of this button. But I thought this was quick enough to reach. So this is me trying to seize control. Let me get control back. And the reason for this video, and the reason why I wanted to talk about this, is because it's very difficult to understand when's your turn, when's their turn, beyond the positive and minus frames. Because when you're in neutral, it's very hard to it's all about spacing. It's all about who has the range, who has the quicker buttons, how quick your buttons are, and how far they go. Is always the first thing you want to know. How far does that go, and how quick is it? If it goes far but it's slow, might lose to some medium attacks that go kind of far but are faster than your button. So the reason why I chose to do back middle punch or forward middle punch, whatever, instead of heavy punch was because I felt it was quick enough. Added with the plus on block or minus on block on that middle kick, I thought it was quick enough to, whatever he tries to do, I'm going to interrupt. Other than maybe a flash kick. Right? Other than a flash kick. But again, we don't think about those things unless they happen. So, this is where we try to gain momentum and we try to gain control. Now, this fireball, I did a whole whiff. Waited a bit. They backed off. And then the fireball came and beat out whatever they decided to go. They backed up and did heavy kick. Why? Because they knew it was negative, but they wanted that reach. They wanted to try to counter hit. They wanted to make sure that they weren't too close to get negative. This allowed me and get my fireball to come out and land the hit. And now I know, because it counter hit, obviously that's really hard to see, but my fireball hit, I know I'm positive. Now I know control's there. And the reason why people throw fireball most of the time is to gain control or seize control. Take it away from your opponent. Okay. There is drawback to it with jump, and that's why jump is very prevalent in this game. But you always want to seize control when you're both fighting for it. So, and this is where, again, here we go again, where he blocked something, I was negative, it's his turn. He threw something, I'm negative, or he's negative, or they're negative, my turn. And now we're back to 0. And this is the most difficult part of Street Fighter, right here, because we're both vying for control. We're both vying for the right action. We could take the safe approach and not do anything and wait for the other opponent or your opponent to strike. We could. I can just wait and see what they're going to do. They may jump. They may dash. They may bullet knee, right? They may do fireball. It depends on how confident you are. At this range right here, Guile has some options against Chun. If the spacing was a little bit further away, I have control because I have the range advantage. I can strike. They can't. And so, what is the choice that we do? I decided to go for Fierce. and I was able to deliver a hit. And this is kind of like the first true hit other than the fireball. And this is where I was just the first one to press a button. I seized control from throwing this button. Now, is there a chance of me being wrong? Yes. Is there a chance of them choosing a different option that might have beaten me? Yes. But you always think about high probability and what's the probability of something happening, and what's the probability of them jumping at that range? Probably mid, right? Maybe about 30%, 35%. What's the probability of them sweeping? These are two options that would have beaten me. Low, maybe 5, 10%. I don't think they would have swept in that range because it's punishable. Jump is punishable. This could be anti-air. So this is where respect comes into play. This is where, oh, I know Broly plays this game. I'm not going to go for something obvious. I'm not going to go for something crazy as a jump. Some people might. Some people don't care if it's Broly. Who cares? But these options are usually played out. So a lot of times when I play, I feel like people respect too much. That gives me the ability to press a button. That gives me the ability, the competence. Shouldn't say ability. The competence to say, I'll be first to fight. I'll be the first one to press a button. So, me understanding range, understanding my character's range, my character's ability to strike at that range, I have control. And when I hit, I have control. Even though we're at 0, I now know, now they're further back. Now I can do stand heavy kick. And that's another one. Why? Because I struck. Just pay attention to this, guys. This is so important right here. So, I deliver stand heavy punch. I know I'm reacting to the hit. I know it hit, right? Now, they are outside the range, right here. Now, there's nothing they can do because we're both at 0. There's no action that they can do that'll reach me instantly. Nothing. There's no button that's going to reach me. There's only a couple things. Jump, dash, or fireball. And 2 out of the 3 options that two of those 3 options I can cover with that heavy kick. And what happens here is when someone is pushed out of the range, out of their range, often not, they want to get back in because they don't win in this range. They can't do anything other than fireball. They can walk back and fireball, and that would be fine. But the problem with that option is now you're starting to push yourself back to the corner. You're walking yourself back. And a lot of players are scared of getting walked back to the corner. So they don't choose that. Or they often don't choose it. They sometimes will, but they often don't want to do that because they don't want to get cornered. The further they are in the corner, the more likely they're not going to do it. So what happens is they get pushed away, they want to come back in. And this is where stand heavy kick came out. Because now my kick's already coming out, they have no way of hitting this. The best thing they could have done is crouch. If they would have crouched right here, that stand heavy kick would have whipped. So, but they have to walk forward, and you can't, well, actually, funny enough, Guile can walk forward while crouching. Won't be blocking, but would avoid this heavy kick. So for you Guile players that are watching this, if you want to get back into your range, down forward. Right? But you have to understand, once you're in range, you have to block. So, their, I won't say inability, but their desire to get back in range, I met it with my heavy kick. And I was able to land a hit. Okay? So this is control. Because I pushed them away, I was in control. I'm in control of the neutral because of my range. Some characters don't give you that. Some characters you have to fight control all the time. Dolls of poison. For me. And for most people. And when that happens, you have to understand when you're not in control and they're in control, you have to wait. And you have to be patient to do anything. You cannot just fight normal. You can't ignore the fact that you're not in control. You have to fight for it. With blocks, with closing in, with movement. That's how you fight for control. And there it is again. And so, once the control is lost, remember what we talked about? Got heavy kicked, got heavy kick in. So now, look at Guile. What happens? Takes a step back. I whiff a button, and what's the answer to whiffing buttons? What's the answer to beat out a person with range? You fireball. And they threw a sonic boom, and it hit me. And now, that's how they regain control. What should have been my option? What my option should have been was, if they walk back, I walk forward. That's how you play perfect control. When you see them, but I didn't know, right? Because my heavy kick was working, my heavy punch was working, I was hitting them, I was trying to establish it and keep control, that they said, you know what? Take a step back and fireball. Now, do I get pushed back that far? No, right here, I'm still in control. That fireball didn't really give them much other than damage. And this is where you're okay with taking damage. Because I still have control. They're still figuring out what they need to do. So now I have to decide, okay, what are they going to do? They don't still have control. Are they going to go back and fireball again? And that's when I start waiting. And I said, okay, let's see what they do. And they're walking backwards. And this is what I did, crouching middle punch. Just in case they fireballed. I did this, I did another one just to go under. And I got the hit. Okay. I don't know if this was a punish. Let me see this. So I was +2. I was +2. They could have blocked, but they didn't block. I think yeah, they went for jab and didn't. I got counter hit. That's right. There we go. There we go. There we go. I'm sorry, I didn't break it down as best I could. So I was +2 here. So that means I'm at the advantage. I went for jab. They could have blocked, but they went for jab and they got counter hit. And if I would have knew this counter hit, I should have done crouching middle kick. I was thinking it was gonna hit like 100%, and I think and then I get a combo. I didn't do the best combo I could have done, but because I didn't recognize that I was gonna get counter hit, I thought this was a punish. Again, you just don't know. So these things you don't assume. I don't assume I'm gonna get crouching middle kick. If I would have done crouching middle kick at that range, I probably would have gotten punished, or I would have lost control 100%. So I was just kind of hoping that my action was the right one, and I wanted to keep control. But now you see where we are. They get hit. I have control. I'm +3. I press another button. I throw fireball. I'm +6. I have more control. And then I could have struck. I could have thrown a fierce punch. But see, the reason why I do this, and this is kind of like a double-edged sword. I'm throwing fireball for them to do this, to block, right? I want them to block, so I'm +5. I've got more control. The problem is, I could have done fierce punch, but if I would have done heavy punch or fierce punch, they would have blocked it. Now I lose control. Now it's their turn because I'm negative. Even though the range is still in my favor, they get an opportunity to do something. Walk up a little bit, maybe back up and throw a fireball, maybe jump, right? But I give them control. If I throw fireball, I'm trying to keep that control. The issue is, it's very susceptible to jump. So if they would have jumped, I would have taken a lot of damage. But then I go with the odds and I'm like, what are the odds of them jumping? It's a lot higher now. probably 60% because they've been losing and they need to try something new. But I played it, you know, this is a gamble and it paid off a little bit and I was able to dash up and then crouching milk. Now once the crouching milk happened, this is where I was like, all right, I'll keep them there. Crouching middle kick, they're negative. So now it's their turn. And this time, since they used their turn, they have control now. They went for a jump. I didn't react in time. Bad input on me or bad play by me. They get to jump in. Now I'm cornered. Now they're plus, well, they're 0. And now I'm getting hit. I lost control. Now I have to respect them. And I'm getting cornered. So what should have happened here was I used this, was plus, dashed in. I'm still plus because of that fireball. Crouching middle kick, now I'm negative, and I don't get anything out of this. And this is something I need to be better at. Is when I do crouching middle kick as just a poke, as just a button. I know it's their turn, so I gotta be more respectful. And say, I gotta wait. I gotta understand it's their turn. What options do they have? And a lot of these options haven't been working. Fireball hasn't been working. Poking hasn't been working. Getting to position hasn't been working. And jump was the last option they could have gone for. And I should have recognized it. Because with that anti-air, now I sustain control. Okay. So I went for a crouching middle kick, middle punch. Even though I got the hit, well, +1. Oh no, wait, let me see that. Actually, I don't think I was plus. There was no way I'm plus. I'm punishable here. I'm -3. I could get punished here. So, again, if they would have recognized that, knowing the matchup is very important, I lost control. Even though I got the hit, I lost control here. They could have punished me, and I didn't miss, but it's okay. So now again, range. I'm going back into. I have the range advantage. They're not fireballing. I'm gonna go and use my control. And then I went for a jump, and this is kind of one of those where. Let me explain this jump. I deliver this hit. Excuse me. And my thought process. This is kind of bad, but I was being a little greedy. I was like, oh, I delivered the fierce punch. Last time we were in this situation, they threw a fireball because they're outside my range, right? So when they're outside the range, they can just take a step back fireball and regain control and have control because I gotta respect the fireball. I gotta be affected by that fireball. And so my thought process was like, alright, they're gonna fireball. This happened before. I don't really get anything after this. Like, even though I'm in control, I don't really gain anything. I can go for a jump here because I assume they're gonna jump. They're gonna fireball me. And so, right when I got in the situation, I went for the jump, and they were ready for it. And it was just me being greedy. This is me taking a gamble when I shouldn't, because I have a life lead. And that brings up my next topic in this situation. And actually, I'm gonna bring this up soon. I'm not gonna bring this up right now. We're gonna let this play out. Miss the punish there. Right. This is gonna go on for a bit, but I want to talk about something really interesting. Now, actually, let's bring this up real quick. So, V trigger has been activated. I'm in mid combo. I'm getting comboed. Now I blocked this fireball, and they're in control because I blocked the fireball. They're plus 18. So now they're gonna try some. They can go for throw. They can go for a hit. They go for this hit. Now they're in control, but there are ways to steal control. There's ways to take control back, even though they're in control. Even though they're positive on this. You do exactly what happened earlier when I got anti for my jump in. right? Where I was trying, I overextended my control. I kept going, and they knew, or they reacted to my jump, but they didn't fireballs because they knew that I was gonna try something on my control in my turn. Same thing happens here. I I can't say the word new, right? Because you don't really know. This is more of an educated guess. But they have me cornered. They have control. I felt they're gonna keep going. They're plus right here, right? So they keep going, and this is where spinning bird happens. Spinning bird or EX spinning bird or EX uppercut, EX flash kick, whatever, is invincible on startup. That means as long as they're not blocking, you'll win. You'll deliver the hit. Right? As long as they're there and attacking, you'll interrupt whatever attack they try to do. As long as there's a gap. So, I knew after stab middle punch, there was nothing that could chain it together like a string. I knew there was a gap. I knew that I had an idea that they would go next. So I said, alright, went for the strike. Went for the strike. Went for EX spinning bird. Okay. I could have done other things. I could have done jab in case I thought they were going to go for a throw, even though it's not my turn. But it's more of a read. Like, what do you assume they're going to do? What are the odds? Again, probability. In my head, probability of him or them striking again was pretty high in my mind. So I thought, well, if I assume they're going to strike again, if I assume that they're going to attack again during the string, during their plus frames, then spinning bird was the correct choice, and it was. It got them away from the corner. It got me some space, some breathing room. I have V trigger. I sent them away. Now I gotta go in. Get out of the corner. Alright, get out of the corner. Even though I only got that little much, that's fine. That's all you need. That's all I need. So waited for it. I thought the little movement forward made me think fireball before crouching middle punch. I have a V trigger to make it safe. It's actually 0 on block. We traded. I could have hit confirmed this, but this is where I wanted to go. So, here's where I wanted to talk about. The next step in control is understanding resource. Control can be defined by what your opponent has or doesn't have. What you have and what you don't have. Okay? When I look at their meter and I see CA blinking, I'm like, oh no. Now that range control that I have, no more. I don't have a range control anymore. Because now their super outranges my buttons. So if for any reason, even though it's low percent chance that it's going to happen, if for whatever reason I throw a heavy punch and they super, I'm dead. I lose so much life. I don't think I'll die from this. I think I'll live. Right? I think I'll live from this, but it'll be really close. It's not worth it. At this point right now, it's not worth it. It's not worth going for these buttons. Okay? I have to make sure that if I'm going to press a button, it's going to be close to them. It's going to be something that's not obvious. That's not easy to go for. Again, if they go for super, they lose all their meter. I won't die. They won't get punished for it because, well, I could jump it. But more often than not, I'm not going to punish them. I can't punish it off of block. So now I have to wait for them. Okay? And now the movement matters. Now they know I have charge. Now they have charge. They're controlling. They still have V trigger activated. So they got multiple. So I can't even punish these crouching, fireballs with crouching middle punch. I have to respect all this. Okay, alright. He's far enough. Got the poke. Shot heavy kick. Same thing, going back into control, right? They're negative. I press a button. Now we're at 0. I throw a fireball. Was that risky? Yes. But because I was close enough to him, you have to also think, like, okay, what can a human do? Can they react? If this was Daigo, I probably would have died. But if this is also a Guile player that had the experience to know Chun's like the fireball after that. I'm just gonna super. I would have died. Right? But you don't really think about that at these times. You kind of just assume the normal rules of control. You're just like, well, they're negative. I'm gonna press my button and not be too worried about anything. So I waited. But what I know that I can't do, I can't fireball. If I fireball, I die. Like, that's all I know. Went for the jump because there's no charge with flash kick, so I'm like, okay, at worst I'm gonna trade. I win. Nothing. I need to see this for education purposes, but I want to know. Okay, that's only -1. Couldn't punish this, so we're fine. Again, just trying to deliver a hit, trying to get something obvious, and then this was kind of like. So this is me assuming that we're gonna fireball. So right here, before I jump at them, right here. So the moment they moved forward, I was like, oh snap, I'm probably gonna get fireballed. So I'm gonna jump straight up. Well, they didn't do it here. So I was trying to pay attention to their movement, and so when they're moving, that's why I moved forward, because if they would have fireballed, I would have caught a middle punch. Now they have no V trigger. So right here is I jumped up. This was very lucky. This is kind of like jackpot, right? They go for something whiffed. I get to punish them. I win the game. I win the round. This jump was very like a real Guile player will tell you this was pretty dumb on my part, because with that jump, what could have happened here is if they didn't do bullet knee, they would have saw me jump and been like, lol, and then just super, and I would have died. I would have probably died right here, because the damage is, again, it's close, but I think I would have died. But they could have supered this. I was very lucky, and it was also, like, I didn't think about bullet knee that much. Like, being in bullet knee's range is smart, because then you're like, well, if they do it, I win. But this is like something you should never, like, I'm telling you now, I shouldn't have done this. If they didn't have super, it would have been a beautiful play. But because they have super, it's not a beautiful play, because I could have died. But it worked out because I knew that the whole time that they have super, I knew they have control. I can't beat that. I can't just play like if they don't have control. I have to respect it. But what I have to do is understand, what are they going to do in that predicament? What are they going to do with their control? When are they going to press a button with their control? And that's how I make an option, make an observation and say, I'm going to try this option. So even though they had super, even though I shouldn't have done this jump roundhouse, it was the option that I went for because something like this might have happened for them to get plus on block, because they couldn't jump, they couldn't dash. This is also to interrupt their jump just in case. But because they did bullet knee, they get hit, I was able to kill them. Move to the next round. And so they still have super. So what happens here is control. This is where life totals start playing a factor. Now that I got a round, I'm up a round. Our life totals are full. I'm not going to die in this situation. There's nothing that's going to kill me right here. I'm not going to die in the next move, in the next action. So the way I play is, well, we go back to normal. I don't care if they have super. If they super me, cool. Like, I'm not going to do something stupid and obvious like fireball for full screen. Yeah, that's going to get super. But I still got to play the rules of normal control. My range, I outrange them. Even though they technically outrange me with super, I outrange them right now. I'm not thinking about their super. If they super me, great. I'm not going to die, and they have no meter. So I'm willing to go for it, right? A lot of times that too. Even if they have meter and they can go EX uppercut, I'm willing to go for certain attacks because I have life total. I can live with it. I can live with them making the action. So I don't mind giving up control to take gambles because risk reward. Sometimes the reward is worth it. So again, back to this again right here. I'm in range. I was first to press a button. I get a curse counter. I dash up, crouch a middle kick, and I just continue the combo. Even though I had super, I'm just thinking about damage. I'm just thinking about keeping my meter and playing the long game. I'm not trying to super now. I'm playing the long game. Because I can't. Because I want the meter for later. Because I'm always going to be building the meter anyways. So I'll get super later. I'm not worried about it. Fireball to keep control. Dash up. Keep control. Okay, now they stole control away with jab. And they go for another jump. Again, my stupid reactions wasn't ready. So the jumping was on point. And I had to respect all this. All this. From the jump. From the jump. All this. Control. 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 You know, not. Okay, so what happened here was because that bullet knee wasn't perfect. See how they moved up just a little bit? They lost that perfect bullet knee. So now this bullet knee is not perfect. Now it's -2. Do I know that number on the top of my head? No, but I know it's my turn. So, go for jump. Then we go back to control. And so, and then, you know, control, control, control. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to this. I'm in control here. Even though it's 0, I have control here because of the range. The thing is, I don't strike here because I'm winning, and I won the round, and I'm winning the life total. Here's where desperation starts to happen. This is when people start getting desperate. This is when people start trying stuff because, hey, my plan's not working. I need to try stuff. So I'm assuming flash kick might happen. So I give up control. Even though I have it, I give it up because, again, I'm trying to make the right read. The right read was, they're going to flash kick, I'm going to block it and punish them. That didn't happen. And that's okay. Because even though I was wrong on my assumption, now I kind of gave him control back. That's why I stepped back. Because now I want, for sure, control. I want to make sure that I have control so that I can strike again. Because now, whatever they do, my strike's going to be first. Unless I was late to their fireball, whatever. Right? But I walked back to get back into perfect range, to get back my control. Alright, missed that range. Now see, this was better. This was so much better. Here comes the fireball. This time they didn't move up. They did bullet knee from right here. And guess where that knee was? Right where it needed to be. And because this is counter hit, because this was right on the money, this is counter hit, they get a combo. Okay. Missed the anti-air again. And so now I'm like, our life totals are kind of similar. We both have super now, so they gotta respect my super as well. And I'm thinking about it, so that's why things are getting loose. I know this is a punish. I didn't get EX legs. I could have gone legs to super. This is kind of a missed opportunity here, but it's okay. And here we're just kind of filling each other out. I knew that was gonna combo. Try to go for throw because I haven't done it yet. And now they get control, and they get massive control here. Now this is where I decided to do V reversal because I knew they were gonna kind of overplay their control. They were gonna try to maximize on their control as much as possible, get in the right range, get close to me, you know, provide mix-up. So V reversal was really good here. I could have gotten thrown here, but they didn't. So now the range is there. This wasn't a bet. This wasn't me missing anti-air. This is me not assuming they're gonna jump. So they did jump, and then now I'm cornered. And this should have been. This is bad on me. Honestly, the reason why this is bad is because they did this already once, where they're getting close to the corner and then they go for jump. And I should have known. I didn't think they would because it's not my turn after reversal. I'm still -2. It's their turn. But I went for Fierce Punch. I don't know, because of the range. It was a bad idea. Now all this again. This wake up right here, I could have done EX Spinning Bird here. But I think if I would have done it, I would have died. So now I'm just like, again, with the whole life totals, you know, you have to think about your life total. You have to think about, if I go for a certain risk, is the risk enough to kill me? Yes. So I don't go for it. That was really good. That was really good. But they messed up, which sucks. And then again, they haven't baited. They went for something plus on block. Spinning Bird was the option, and I needed it. So now I want control. Even though I don't get control after that, it's okay. Knew this was coming, or I reacted to the jump, and I know B trigger 1 combos with EX legs, and I get EX legs, and I get the victory. Control. Understanding control, who's got control, and what are they gonna do with it? That last statement right there, what are they gonna do with their control? Is how you make reads. That's how you know character matchups. Because you know what is in the pool of moves that they can do, the pool of options they can go for. A lot of their pool of options were to jump, and I didn't have the jump ready. I wasn't ready for the jump. I didn't anti-air. I had the answer was there, I just wasn't ready for it. So always be thinking about how you can use your control to influence your choices, and how control for them, for your opponent, can influence them and choose your defensive approaches. Choose your options as defense. What's been working, what doesn't work. Control is in any game, any fighting game you play. Control matters a lot. A lot of times you guys are on one side of the screen, and you know, on the opposite side of each other in the screen, and control might not matter too much, but then you start thinking about range and fireballs and who has the tools for that. If nobody does, then control's not that important full screen ahead. But once you start walking into the range of everybody's tools and stuff like that, then it gets pretty crazy. Then you start thinking about how you want to match up against your opponent. So hopefully this video helped you guys. I know it was a lot. Control is a big topic that covers a lot of other things that we go through when it comes to meaties, when it comes to punishes and neutral. So it's a lot to digest. If you have questions, make sure you ask them in the comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'll be doing way more videos of this when the new patch comes out, which is on the 29th, which is next week. A week and a day. So I'm excited. I'm really, really excited for that. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.